Hello, and welcome to another episode of Ask the Experts, where today we'll be answering your questions around social media. I'm Ed Garner, Regional Director for the Michigan Small Business Development Center, and this is a fifth episode of our 10-part webinar series on Ask the Experts. And if you missed any of the previous episodes, or you want to watch episodes from last season, we'll show you how to access those at the end of the broadcast. This is also a fan favorite that we're bringing back from last year, so we have high attendance numbers today. So many of you have sent your questions in already. Feel free to put questions in the question box as the program goes along. We'll get to as many of them as we can. Now, Ask the Experts is actually part of our Entrepreneur Toolbox series, where we seek to bring you relevant and timely information on subjects that can help you improve your business operations. And for those of you that don't know about the Michigan Small Business Development Center, we are a statewide network funded in part through the U.S. Small Business Administration, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation at the state level, and then our local hosts, such as Grand Valley State University. Our services include no cost, confidential, one-on-one business consulting. Also, we do a lot of secondary market research. We do education and training programs such as today, and we also work with technology commercialization. Also, uh, if you want to get a consulting appointment after this broadcast, if you need individual help, you just go to our website and basically you'll see a blue button there that says request business consulting or sign up for business consulting assistance, and we'll get back with you typically in 24 48 hours to get you to one of our business consultants. Also, to keep up with us and give us some feedback on today's program, we ask that you provide us a little survey information. We're going to send you a survey at the end of the broadcast. It's only about, I think, 3 questions, so it's really not that complicated. But we do want to get your feedback on this episode of Ask the Experts or topics for future episodes that we may bring to you. Also, after today's broadcast, you will receive a recording to this webinar. So don't have to reach out to us at all to do so. You just basically just wait about 24 hours or so. We'll get that to you. It'll be a recording of the broadcast and also any PowerPoint materials that we present to you today. So great. I think that's all the to-dos we have to cover. So with that, I actually want to bring up our moderator for today's discussion. Is one of our own SBDC consultants and regional marketing specialists, Nicole Podvin. She's from the UP region, and she'll be our moderator for today. So, hey, Nicole.
Hey, Ed, thanks so much for inviting me today. I'm thrilled to be
Yeah,
here.
yeah, you got a big crowd today, and so I'm thrilled to have you aboard and to moderate this discussion for us. And we look forward to all the wonderful questions and answers for today's broadcast. So, with that, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Okay, great. Well, thanks again. All right, so today we are going to be bringing on two social media gurus to help answer these questions. We've got quite a long list. We've got my 3 pages and then whatever you guys pop in the box. So we're going to be doing our best to keep things moving along and getting you the information you want. So today our first guru that we're going to be talking to is Lorenzo Johnson, and he is from Socialian, a social media agency. So welcome, Lorenzo. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure.
Excellent. Okay, great. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your business?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Lorenzo Johnson. I'm the current partner and director of revenue management at Socially In. We are a full service social media agency that will be celebrating our 13th birthday this July. So we're very excited about that. And then a little bit about my background. I am a proud Grand Valley State University alumni. So go Lakers. Started my career actually at M Live Media Group for everybody who's familiar with that in the Grand Rapids office. And so for the past about 14 years, I've been in this digital marketing and social media space. So really, really excited to be talking to you all about this subject that I'm extremely passionate about.
Awesome. We're looking forward to it. And then our next
Thank you.
panelist is Clara Trent from Clara Trent Media Specialists. Welcome, Clara. Thanks for being with us.
Hi, Nicole. Thank you. I'm so thrilled to be here. And all the people that are attending, I have to give them a lot of credit because they are innovators. That a lot of their people that are their competition aren't on social media, and it's a powerful tool. And Lorenzo and I are excited to share that and help you get
Yes, we
started
are.
if you're not already.
Okay, well,
Oh, and then
great.
we
Well,
talk about my business too.
yes,
Let me
tell us
talk about
about
my
it.
business. So I've been a marketing director for 25 years before this, and I worked with small and mid-sized companies and nonprofits over the years, and I loved that. But what I noticed was was a big switch in how I could help small businesses in the digital realm. And so about 10 years ago, I started working with companies on social media, and so that's what I specialize in, social media marketing. I'm based in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Awesome. Well, great. Well, we've got a good representation of the whole state here today. Um,
Yeah, that's
so
cool.
let's go ahead and start with the basic question. Clara, you just brought it up. You know, a lot of people are not doing social media. A lot of the competition is not doing social media. As an SBDC consultant, I get a lot of clients who are hesitant to do it, have no idea how to get started. So, one of the questions I have for you both is, you know, if I'm a small business owner, are my customers active on social media? Is it going to be worth it for me to put in all that effort?
Well,
Go ahead,
I,
Clara.
I could start. First of all, I have statistics. So 246 million people in the US are on social media. So it's big. And of those people, they're on for 2.5 hours every day. So you have a large amount of people that you can reach, and you just have to know how to do it. How about you, Lorenzo? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so my thoughts are similar to what you said, Clara. Everybody's on social media. I think the most important thing is to realize which platform that your customers and your potential customers are going to be on. And I think that's kind of the trick sometimes, is kind of figuring out where they are. You know, every brand doesn't need to be on TikTok. You know, I know it's cool, I know it's trending, I know it's the fun thing to do. Every brand's people are not on there. Some brands, it's a little bit more appropriate for Facebook. You know, we're really starting to encourage people to think outside the box when they think about social media. We always think about the big platforms like Facebook, Instagram. What about platforms like Reddit, for example? You know, a lot of people don't know Reddit just got bought by Google for like $60 million and things like that. A lot of these platforms where there's just a ton of engagement at. So I would always say that your people are for sure on social media. It's really about finding out which platform they're going to be on.
I
Well,
love that.
great. So when you talk about which platform are they going to be on, what is your suggestion for figuring out your target audience and where they're hanging out?
Absolutely. So there's a few different things that you can do. So the first thing is there's actually some really cool tools. Each platform has what's called a business manager that you can start to look into and actually play around with some things. So for example, I don't know if everyone knows that you could actually go to facebook.com/ads, and you can actually build out a whole sample campaign. If you want to see how many specific people of yours are in a specific zip code or things like that, you can start to get a little bit about those numbers. So the first thing that I would say is look at the data that these platforms do provide to you. It's not difficult. It's not necessarily crazily easy to do, but it is very, very accessible. And then the second thing that I always encourage people to do is test, test, test. I think that's one mistake that we see people make oftentimes, is that they say, "Hey, I thought my followers may be on Instagram. I did a post, it didn't work, so I gave up." A lot of times it could be about the post. Did you do a video? Did you do a graphic? Did you switch up what you're doing? So I would say the first thing is use the tools that are available so that you can get as much foundational information as possible. Use that to make your best decision. We always like to say a V1, a version one, and then test, 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 test. Simple as that.
Great, great. Clara, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
That was a really good information, Lorenzo. And the other thing that I'd like to say is start small. Just pick
Yes.
one of the ones that you have already established. So is it LinkedIn? Do you have 50 followers on LinkedIn? start there and be consistent. Just post a couple of times a week, or just start out with once a week and be consistent. And also go on there and interact with your clients, people who will be your clients. And that way you start finding out by listening to the analytics on, say it is LinkedIn is your one you're going to start with. Look at the analytics and see who the people are that are liking your posts. And I have to also say, you may not see any interaction for quite a while, but believe me, people, if you're consistent, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all those people, X will show your constituents, your prospective customers. They will ultimately, but it does take consistency.
Yes, ma'am, it
When you
does.
talk about consistency, Clara, do you mean like one post a week? Are you talking two posts a week? What does consistent mean?
Well, my thing is, what do you have time for? What makes sense for you? And if you have a small platform, really, you can inundate those people, and they won't. If you post 3 times a day, they're not going to want. Are they, Lorenzo? They're not going to want to see all your stuff. But if you have a more robust following, say like 1,000, I have a page of 16,000, and they like to see a lot of posts. So, it
Yeah.
depends. But if you're a small business, I imagine it's going to be, once a week. You have to start out small. I recommend that. What do you think, Lorenzo?
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I agree. I always like to say there's a difference between consistency and best practices. And I think that sometimes people kind of convolute those two things over. The majority of brands, especially small businesses, won't be able to post at the frequency of best practices. Give you guys an idea of what that means. On TikTok, technically, best practice is to post 2 to 3 times a day. On
Okay.
Instagram, technically, best practices you can post up to every single day. Now, again, that's 30 pieces of different content and different things like that. To Clara's point, do you even have that much of a story to tell potentially? Not necessarily. And so, consistency, again, 1 to 2 posts a day on the same platforms, that's kind of the way that I kind of judge those two things.
Okay, great. So, Lorenzo, if I'm doing this consistent posting, is that going to increase my social media traffic and engagement, or are there other things I need to be doing to increase that?
Definitely other things. So in order to increase your engagement, one of the things you're starting to talk about is the algorithm and how these things work. And there's multiple things that go into this algorithm. One big piece of that is the consistency of posting. That's a huge piece of it. But then there are going to be other things that can come into play into that. The time of day that you're going to be posting. Are you utilizing strategies like hashtag strategies, which would potentially bring in additional people to view your post that you may not have actually intended with the initial targeting and things like that. The types of content that you're essentially putting out there. One of the things that we know, for example, is that video content right now is getting much more engagement than your graphics and kind of like your still images is, and that's across all platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. It doesn't necessarily matter. Anytime you can create a piece of content that keeps people on the platform, platforms are really going to like that. So yes, it is about consistency, but there are going to be those other things that also play into that when you truly start talking about how do I increase that engagement rate.
Do you have anything to add, Clara?
And I'm so glad you brought up algorithms, because that's a mystery to most people, and I always like to say algorithms are your friend. If you learn how
They are.
to party with the algorithms, they will embrace you and, throw you out to your right clients and everything. But like Lorenzo was saying, it isn't just posting. You also have to, do a little Google search or Reddit. That's a very good point, Lorenzo. Reddit is a great platform to find out what your keywords are, what your long tail keywords are, and make sure you're putting that information in your post with a cool photo. And I agree, videos are big, and I have to struggle with my clients sometimes. Let me do some videos with you. But it is big. It is big. Does that
Awesome.
answer?
So, oh, did you want to say something more?
No, I was just hoping that answered a little bit.
Oh, sure, absolutely. So when we're talking about engagement and traffic and all that, what would we consider a successful engagement rate? We always get the analytics at the end, and it gives us an engagement rate. How do we know if it's good or not?
Depends on the size of you know, your platform. How many people do you have? That's what I believe. Um, you I have some small clients. I started, they had 3 people on their platform, and you got to build that up, and it does take a little while. We do get a lot of information online on social media about in 10 hours, they're going to have 10,000 people and make $100,000. And I have to say, that is not true. I mean, that is a rare occurrence. You have to be patient with social media and consistent. And also, I like to emphasize, you don't think that people are seeing it, but they really are, especially, but you have to grow it. And I have to say, groups, local groups, and and national groups, whatever is wherever your clients are, engage with groups and post on there. It's a very important. It's a gold mine. That's what I believe. Groups are a gold mine.
Lorenzo, what's your thoughts on the groups and engagement?
Yeah, Yeah, I'll kind of work backwards on that. So groups, absolutely, groups are underutilized. I'd especially say on Facebook and LinkedIn. Those are two of the most prominent places right now. If you can build up this community is big on social media. Those are two places that if you can be active on those places right there, there's some awesome conversation that's actually having. Taking it a little bit further back into engagement, Claire is absolutely right. Standard engagement rates do vary by platform. So that's the first thing is, we can kind of talk through all of those. For instance, Instagram's standard engagement rate is about 1 to 3%. Now, these numbers do scare people when you start to hear what that means. That means that for every 100 followers that you have, if you were to make a post, you can expect between about 1 to 3 people to engage with that post. That's not a
Good
lot. Those type of
statistic.
numbers yeah, those scare people. So that's what a standard engagement would be.
Yeah.
Now, is that good engagement? All of those things, we can kind of have conversations about that. But if everyone's looking kind of for that number, 1 to 3% on IG, Facebook, those are considered kind of like your standard engagement type of numbers.
Awesome
Love that.
information.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Uh, so we're getting a lot of uh, questions from the audience. So I just want to kind of get over there and start answering some of these for the group. So they're a little bit out of order, but we're just going to start
Okay.
hammering away. All right. So we have one that says we've been approached by a self-proclaimed influencer. How can we vet them? Make sure that they're going to be, beneficial to our organization. Lorenzo, do you want to
I
start?
could start with this. Yeah, I could start. We do a lot of influencers, and a few things. Influencers are going to be one of your most unpredictable forms of marketing. I always like to tell people that it does have the potential to kind of take your dollar and stretch it at a crazy ROI. It also has the potential to be something that you invest in and get absolutely zero return from, brand awareness, anything from. So we typically always like to tell people that to keep that in mind. Number one. Few things you want to do to vet them. The first thing is you always want to vet like their audience. For example, it's so easy to buy followers, for example, buy bots and things like that. You always want to make sure that their followers are real. The second thing you always want to look for is their engagement rate. That'll kind of give you an idea of not only just the quality of their followers, but it also give you an idea of the attentiveness of their audience. And those are going to be two of the biggest things that you have to do to vet them. And then there's absolutely going to be for lack of a better term, a vibe. There has to be some type of connection to them. Otherwise, you start to get into a very transactional type of relationship, which typically is for sure going to benefit the influencer. It's not always going to benefit the brand themselves. And so, one of the most important parts about an influencer is also finding the right influencer, somebody who believes in the brand, connects with the brand, somebody that has an audience that also believes in it. I think that's one other thing that I'll throw. Oftentimes, we see people who see an influencer that has 100,000 and they just assume that all want that their 100,000 people must be my target audience, and they're super excited to work with them. That's not necessarily the case. A lot of these influencers, for example, are selling for all types of different brands and things like that. So you may not always want to go for the influencer that has 100,000. What's really big and trending right now are what are called like nano and micro influencers. Those individuals that only have 1,500 followers, 2,000, 5,000 followers, much smaller audiences, but their audiences are so loyal. Their audiences are so attentive. So I think those are a few things to keep in mind when you're talking about vetting a potential influencer partnership.
Great. And Clara, can you add anything to that? And then also, um, just questioning too about like, how do you know like how to pay an influencer, or what are the typical transactions that take place there?
Lorenzo had a great insight. I love how you explained that, Lorenzo. That was wonderful. Now,
Thank you.
I've never worked with paid influencers, but I definitely deal with community influencers. And I always try to work within the groups, that I have my clients in, and I try to connect with them in the groups and online, and it becomes a symbiosis. So they start liking, my client, because they see the benefit of having more clients, because that's in their influence, realm. That's who their clients are. And so it's important, like Lorenzo said, to pick the one, the influencers that are in your niche. They have the clients that you're looking for. And I have to say, it's not just online. I always encourage and it's hard to do, but networking. This is a wonderful networking. That's why it's called social media, but also face to face networking is very important too. So all of that works into, it being around influencers and getting to know them socially, on digitally and in person, is very, and it takes time. I believe in building actual relationships, and you can do that digitally as long as you're commenting in their stuff and they're commenting in yours. And it just takes a minute it's like building a relationship. That's how I like to deal with community influencers.
Okay,
Hey,
great. Well,
Nicole,
thank you so
I can
much.
provide
Go ahead.
a if you want, I can provide it. So just for some specific pricing ranges, in case anyone's kind of interested.
Yeah,
I don't know,
that
I
would
was
be
one.
very interesting.
So right now, I'll throw two insights into it. We're seeing on average for, I would say, up to not a major influencer. So you're talking about 50,000 or less, everywhere from about $250 a post up to about $10,000 a post. Again, it is very expensive. And obviously, for those posts, you can get more things. You're talking about does the post stay up in perpetuity? Does it stay up for 30 days? You get into a lot of those technical things. I want to throw one other thing that's trending right now with pricing that I do think is important to kind of mention. And it's that a lot of brands we're seeing that are coming to us are really offering, they don't want to offer paid influencers anymore. What they want to offer are like these affiliate partnerships. That's really big now. We have so many people who are like, Lorenzo, I don't want to pay them $500 just to post because I'm not guaranteed to get that, but I'll give them 50% of the product and things like that. And one thing that I want to tell people is that that is not working nearly like people think that it works.
Okay.
That's not nearly as the offer isn't nearly as juicy as it kind of sounds to brands. Brands like, well, I'll give you 50% of whatever you can sell for me. And a lot of times we have to tell brands, these people aren't your sales folks. Influencer management isn't a replacement for a sales staff. It isn't a replacement for a lot of these other things that people try to get it to do. So I do want to just encourage people when you start talking about, I don't want to pay an influencer. I just want an influencer to work with us because of our brand, and then we'll just split some of the profit. That's not as beneficial to an influencer as you would think that it was. And that requires them to really believe in your product and care, which isn't always going to be the nature of your influencer type of relationship. So we're getting so many calls about people who want to do affiliate. And that sounds cool. And it does benefit the advertiser. We're getting the majority of influencers aren't really open to that type of relationship exactly because they have to do so much work. They have to put so much
Yes.
stuff in front of their audiences to maybe return something. And that's just not the mindset that your typical influencer is in right now. It's an ego space, you guys. And so understand that if you're going to step into the influencer space, you may be stepping into that space of someone with an ego. And that will be important when you come to
Mhm.
talking about negotiating and things like that. Whether or not you like it or agree with it doesn't matter.
Hmm.
Well
Very
put. I
interesting.
love it.
So we're talking about all this stuff, and already right now, if you're just starting out in social media, you're kind of probably a little overwhelmed at this point. So one of the questions we have is, we're so busy, and now we've got all these things to do. What is the best use of time? Is it to be on multiple social networks, or and maybe even use tools to plan it all out, or is it best to just go all in on a single platform? We're really making a moment there. Clara, you want to start with that one?
Yeah, I always recommend start with one platform. I mean, two, if like if you're on Facebook, Instagram is easy to schedule at the same time. If you when you go into the toolbox, the Meta Universe, the Meta Business, you can do Instagram and Facebook at the same time. But I recommend just do one, and it is hard to, but those are, there are tools right in Facebook where, you set up a week of, or a month, you set up a month of targeted, and I must say, I have to say this one thing, share insights, like don't just sell, share little tips about how to grow your business, depending on, um, like when I post for my client, my clients, I always give them tips about what should you be posting today? Today is Wednesday. Wonderful Wednesday post. And I give them examples of what to post. So if you're say like you're in accounting and marketing, accounting and bookkeeping, give those are small businesses that you probably middle-sized business you're going to be working for. Give them tips about how to make their bookkeeping easier. One tip. And then, my proposal always is share 80% of the time, sell 20% of the time, because you're building a relationship. So what was the question? Forgot.
Going all
Oh,
in
yeah,
on
just start
one,
with one. Yeah.
or yeah, okay. And what about you, Lorenzo? What's your thoughts?
Yes, ma'am. I definitely agree with that, especially because it can be overwhelming. And yeah, so start with the one. They make cross posting easy. And then one other question thing that you mentioned and alluded to is, are there platforms that can make that easy? I always like to admit we are a Sprout Social partner, which is why I do recommend Sprout Social. I always
Oh,
like to be transparent
that's
with
a
that.
good one.
But Sprout
Yeah.
Social is very easy to use. And one of the other reasons that we like it is because it also allows you to schedule posts from both private and company pages. So it's not, I know a lot of small businesses, for example, start off and transition from that personal page before they actually launch a business brand page and things like that. Sprout Social actually allows you to schedule future posts from both. So that's a really big benefit, especially for
Yeah.
smaller businesses and things like that. So they make it very easy.
So on that line, in that vein, so if I am a small business owner, do I want to continue posting stuff about my business on my personal page, or should it just be on my business page?
So obviously, there's going to be a personal decision making that comes to that. I always recommend you always post from your personal page as well. And here's why. Over the past 2.5 years, between COVID, between a lot of different things, there's been a shift for people care about the faces behind brands much more than they've ever cared in the past. They care about the faces behind brands. They care about what you care about. They care about your moral compass. They care about what lines you lean and where you stand at and what you support. That means something to people. Now they care about what are your stances on the environment, all of these different things. There's so much competition. There's penny differences when people want to switch products. And so, in my opinion, it's very, very important to give people something else to potentially buy from the brand. And some people will buy your personal brand. There's certain people who care about the products that you sell, and then there's certain people who will connect with you as an individual who may not necessarily even care about the products and things that you sell. So to me, it really opens up the door to a potential whole other avenue of prospects. But again, it also tells the side of the story of the brand that people are caring to see more and more and more. It's not there's a culture. People care about company culture, how you're treating your employees, all of those different things now a little bit more.
So just to follow up on that, maybe Clara, you can answer it too. So does that mean that my personal page should be public?
Well, and I love what Lorenzo was saying, and it is switching, it has been switching for a while. And actually, Facebook did Now you can say business for your personal page, and I recommend going, public. But I have to say, some of my clients, I'm dragging them, kicking and screaming. They just want to, and if it doesn't feel right, all I can say is I totally understand. But it
So,
is, you do get, um, I agree with what Lorenzo's saying. How are you going to differentiate? There are many people doing what you do, and what they want to see is who you are. That's what's going to make you stand out and help them make a decision about whether to buy from you or your competition. And it's so nice to see a person's personality, and that's how video comes into effect too. You get to see the person and how they talk, um, and you can start to like them and trust them. And those are big things in making sales. And that's what we all want, clients.
Right. Well, thank you both. That was really an insightful conversation right there.
you're
So
welcome.
just kind of continuing on down the influencer path and community path, we have a question here, and maybe you can explain a little more about the what the question is saying here. So they're saying, tagging on to the influencer conversation, any thoughts on using UCG Creators? So maybe you guys can explain what that
Yeah.
is and what your thoughts are.
Yeah. You want me to
Go,
take
Lorenzo,
it, Claire?
Lorenzo.
Yeah. So it's being very technical. So I believe what the person is referring to is what's commonly considered UGC, or what stands for user generated content. Uh, that's really big right now. It's a huge trend right now, and essentially what that is it's creating content that shows people essentially using your product on its most simple form. Now, the cool thing about UGC content is that it can be natural or it can be manufactured. For example, we do UGC shoots, user generated content shoots, where they're put into scenarios where they look very normal, they look very natural. You will never know that this was a paid piece of content that's being created, but the principle behind it is very powerful right now. It's almost like it's a shift from influencer in a way. It still kind of blends into that influencer line because, again, you are leveraging certain creators when important. You're leveraging a lot of that. But the difference is, again, is it's not supposed to be this explicit paid promotion. It's supposed to be this more natural use. See me unbox the product, for example. See the product in use. See the product as it sits over here. See the product turn on. A lot of those things so people can kind of envision themselves when they're using it. So yes, it is very popular right now. It is it's getting some of the highest engagement rates on platforms like Instagram and TikTok and things like that. But the most important part I'll tell people is that it doesn't have to be truly user generated. Now, saying that, this is a really, really great opportunity to include your current customers into this. Have them post reviews, take videos, tag you when they actually use your product and things like that. That's free publicity for you all. It'll be that earned media that you're looking for. And that's what true user generated content really is right there.
great. Clara, do you want to continue on that?
I agree. Yep, that's perfect. And it's almost like testimonials and reviews, which are huge. So it's just another version of that, and it's big. Yeah, it's very big. If you ever notice when you do those, how much your interactions and comments go up, and how much the algorithms love it.
Well, people
Awesome.
expect you to say positive things about your brand. That's what we always encourage people. Nobody gets on there and says, my brand sucks. You get on there and you brag about your brand. So that's just expected. So it just feels and it's more receptive when it comes from someone appearing to not be paid for it, which again is full transparency. It's not always the case.
Well, very good. Thank you both for sharing on that. That's a great, very interesting topic, a little twist on the typical.
Mhm.
So just along those veins, something having it be something a little new and different, or at least a new trend. What are some of the other trends you're seeing that take us away from like how we've always been doing stuff on social media? Anything new coming along that
Oh
sticks
yeah.
out for you? Go ahead,
So
Clara.
Chat GPT is a very nice platform for small businesses to take on the new AI, and it really helps you build content. It helps you create content. Um, but it's, not so, but yes, ChatGPT is, try it. It seems scary, but just and what you need to do is establish a relationship with Chat, and then she starts knowing what it is you're looking for and what you want, from them, and they start giving you more. And so it is a very useful for content creation, because it can take a lot of time to create good content, and that is a very quick way to do it.
Yeah,
What do you think,
I agree
Lorenzo?
with you there.
You
Lorenzo, anything else trend-wise?
The the only other trends that we're seeing a few different things, but I think one that's important is we are seeing a trend towards more niche-based type of social media platforms and social media type of engagement. What I mean by that, for example, I don't know if anyone's heard of a platform called like Be Real. It got really popular for a little bit, and then they kind of fluttered out for a little bit, and then they just got purchased for a couple $100 million actually a couple weeks ago and things like that. So we are starting to see an
who bought them?
increase in niche platforms. A game,
Oh,
a European
oh,
gaming company actually bought them. I forget the name of it. Curious to see what they're going to do with it. But yeah, I think that's one of the things that we're seeing. We're seeing, even from what we consider to be like more fringe social media, so like Truth Social and some of these other things. So I think that's one trend that we're seeing is a lot more niche, a lot more community, a lot more places where you can go to specifically. I'm sorry, I have something in my eye. Apologies. A lot more communities specifically geared towards a very small
oh.
individual niches. And I'm very curious to kind of see what's going to happen with that over the next 6 months to a year.
So if you're a small business owner, and again with the time thing, is it really just for growth companies that are wanting to hit new markets where they would investigate these different platforms, or is that something like everyone should check it out, or what would you suggest?
Now, if you're a small business, yeah, if you're a small business and you're just starting and you're like, hey, I want to get in social and I want to try, I would not suggest playing around with some of those other things. I'd suggest playing around with some of the main ones because the majority of your people will be also on the main ones. You are going to have some small segments that may be on some of the, the Discord, the Twitch, a lot of the other things that you'll start to hear about right there. I would say make your plans based upon some of the larger ones. And then as you start to get that data that Clara was talking about, the analytics or get a little bit of the insight, then you can start to say, okay, are there maybe other areas and opportunities that maybe there's a room for a deeper conversation at? But I would say start off with the main ones because that's also where you're going to get the most help at.
Good point. Yeah,
Very good.
I
Any
agree.
suggestions? Okay, great. So along those lines, we think of YouTube. We're talking video. We think of YouTube as well. It's actually the number two search engine
Yes.
on the web, and we think of it as like a search engine or like an information thing, but it's actually a social media as well. What are your thoughts about YouTube as a platform?
It's powerful. When I have gotten some of my clients to use it, it takes off. Now, of course, it takes time, and you have to create those videos and stuff. But it's consistency. If you're wanting to grow your business, my recommendation is do what your competition it won't do. Get up at 5 in the morning and create those YouTube videos and put them out there, and create a channel and put your logo there, and share who you are, and share your expertise, because a lot of people, especially small business owners, forget that they are experts in what their services and their products, and share that with, and YouTube is a perfect place to do it. What do you think, Lorenzo?
I definitely agree. We're as a Google partner, we do a ton on YouTube, and it's really big. Video is really big, as we continue to mention, and it's obviously the place to go to for all of that. One thing I'd encourage people to do if you want to start to test it is play around with YouTube Shorts. They're very easy. It's a very easy place to take existing content and videos that you already have. You can take your same Instagram reels that you've made. You can take your same TikToks that you've made, cross post them on YouTube, turn them into YouTube Shorts, and just like that, you don't have to remake content or do any of that, and you can start to get a presence. Um, it is still a lot of people's go-to, especially depending on the service that you're looking into, how-to videos, a lot of those different things. YouTube is a very powerful place if you're looking for that long types of engagement. But again, if you're looking just to start somewhere, very simple. If you're already making videos, simply launch a YouTube page and then just start posting YouTube shorts. Takes no additional work, cross-post the same work that you have right there. Now there's a whole new audience that you could potentially get into. And then the other thing I will say is for anybody on the call that is currently big on TikTok and is nervous about the ban, what's all going to happen with that, we are strongly encouraging people to shift over their assets to YouTube right now. We're not saying stop doing what you're doing on TikTok by any means. We have a lot of people that are investing even higher into TikTok right now, to be clear. However, over the next year and a half. We're not sure what's going to happen. So if TikTok is a current big revenue driver for you, I would say start to go ahead, move over those same assets. And again, you don't have to build a new strategy yet, but it's going to give you a place where all of that stuff will live already. You can start to build some traffic. So just in case, if transition needs to happen over the next 12 to 18 months, your foundation will already be there and be secure. Then you just got to basically shift over your traffic strategy.
Really good
Wonderful. I
suggestion.
love that. Great recommendation.
Yeah, great.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've got a lot of people asking. So we've talked a lot about organic and posting and content and all that, but what about advertising? What are we doing with
Yeah.
advertising and social media?
You want to
Who
start, Claire, or
wants
you
to
want me to start?
Go ahead and you can start, Gus.
Yeah, so we manage, I think right now we manage about 12 million or so per year in strictly social media ads. It's an interesting game. It's a very interesting game. Right now, certain platforms are quite expensive. For example, LinkedIn is the most expensive ad platform to run ads on right now, especially for B2B companies right now. And it is crazily expensive. I mean, you're talking about we've run campaigns with $1,000 budget that you start a campaign, refresh, and $1,000 is literally spent within a couple minutes. It's extremely expensive to go after C-level execs and things like that. So those are some things to keep in mind. So a little tip right now, we are actually recommending, depending on your B2B business, to really look into TikTok paid ads. TikTok is just yearning for content right now. They can't keep enough content, can't keep enough eyes. So B2B audiences are actually becoming relatively cheap. Now, we're starting to see kind of an increase in that, but that's still relative to LinkedIn. It's pennies comparative to that. So that's one thing I was to start off with. And then Facebook is another platform where we're actually seeing that you're having to spend a little bit more money to get the exact same results that you're getting before. Unfortunately, Facebook has kind of been moving to what we kind of call this like pay to play model for, I'd say about a year and a half now, where it seems like they're always asking for more money, more of this to, again, more importantly, get the same thing that you're getting. You're not even getting more for it. So Facebook is a little bit kind of a frustrating platform right now. Just so that people know, even though it is considered best practice to start an ad campaign on both Facebook, Meta, and Instagram, you do not have to continue running simultaneous campaigns on there. So if you are seeing your prices and things, there's some strategic things that you can do to shift. But from an ad perspective, those are some of the things that we're currently seeing that are trending right now. But if you are an e-commerce, if you are looking for a direct ROI, if you are one of those brands that say, Lorenzo, I can't afford to pay for just brand awareness. If I run a campaign for 90 days, I need to return something. Strongly recommend at minimum run a boosting campaign. So for everyone who doesn't know, a boosting campaign is very simply taking a post organically and then just adding a couple dollars to promote it. So as opposed to having to put a full, $1,000 or $2,000 budget, you can actually say, hey, I got this one post that I'm excited about. Let's put $25 behind just this one post and things like that. So I would at minimum recommend that you're boosting strategically. But again, if my ideal recommendation would actually say run the paid ads campaign. You can find the exact people you're looking for. It's very systematic. When you start talking about algorithmic and cost per clicks and all of these numbers, it just becomes a formula, just that simple.
Oh, very good.
So
Clara, go ahead.
that was really well said, and I
Thank you.
agree. So I don't have not, I forgot to say, I emphasize my go-to platforms for my clients are LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and X. And I recommend, I only have been doing Facebook ads for my clients. And when I built them up so that the algorithms understand what this company is doing and who their clients are. Then I do what Lorenzo was recommending, boosted ads. And there is the, actual ad campaigns that you can set up, which is, go delving deeper, and you have to know a lot more, and I charge more for those. But you can also target your boosted uh, ads. So yes, pick out one that is done well. This is my recommendation for small business, and you're on your platform on Facebook. Pick one that has done well, and unless you just want to get your name out there, which is important, but if you want to sell something, pick one that is done well and boost it, and see, and then go in. Oh, and look in YouTube. They'll tell you how to make it work on Facebook. Use YouTube.
That's very true. So, we're talking about organic, getting content, we're talking ads. We've got a couple other questions here. One person saying, is it better to start organically before moving to paid, or should we be doing both at the same time? What's the strategy there?
What is
Ideally,
your
both.
strategies,
My first
Lorenzo?
question. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So ideally, both. If you have the budget to do organic and paid, absolutely start paid. Or I'm sorry, absolutely start both. My second thing is absolutely going to be based upon your KPIs, your objectives, and then how long do you have to basically generate a return. A brand new organic campaign will not generate dollars. If you're starting from scratch, you have 10 followers on your page, we're just getting your couple posts and things like that, that's not generating any money in the first 45 days, just as being practical. Now, I'm talking very general. Yes, there may be some things that happen and things like that, but in general, you just start posting, that won't do that. So if you say, again, I have a finite budget that has to start to return something, then I would recommend starting with a paid campaign. Just so everyone knows, you can run a social paid campaign without having an organic presence. So you don't have to actually have a full organic presence to run social ads on social media. Platforms do multiple different things to make it easy. You can basically create in-platform landing pages that people can go to, drive them off traffic, and we can get into the pros and cons to all of that. But that's one thing that a lot of people always say is, well, I don't have a page, therefore I can't run ads. That is not necessarily true. So again, I would say if you have budget, do both. If you have KPI specific, then that's going to help you say, okay, whether we should do organic and paid. And again, if your KPI is dollar, units moved, revenue made, and things like that, I always strongly recommend to start off with the paid component, because you can run campaigns that literally say, my objective is to convert. Just that simple. And then now for the next 90 days, all of your dollars will be going to generating sales. Now, the cons that are going to be, that's what the campaign is for. You're getting the brand awareness aspect from it a little bit, but once you stop running that campaign, again, there isn't anything else that's kind of there. And so those are some of the things that you got to kind of weigh, and why it is important, ideally, if you can, to also kind of have those organic kind of in the background. So when you do stop running those ads and things like that, your presence doesn't just disappear. But again, I understand that budgets matter. So you got to do what you have to do and take that into account 100%.
Claire, did you want to add anything?
Yes, so my clients typically are restricted by their budget, and so I like to build them up organically, and then say, let's do some boosting here. And so it has worked. It really does work, and it is a win-win. And I like what you're saying, Lorenzo. If you only do the sales with not much organic on your, not much following, then when they run out of money or it's not doing what they thought, then what do you have? But I have to say, a lot of times when I'm boosting, I am able to build their platform also at the same time. So
So we're getting close to the top of the hour here. So I just have another question for both of you. So I'm a small business. I really love running my business. I really hate social media. So if I want to focus on my business, I know I got to do social media, but do I have to, I mean, is it better to just hire someone to take care of it for me? Or, what are your suggestions as far as, when is it time to just hire it out?
what's your budget? You you need to have money to do that, and you have to know that it's going to take a little bit of time. But I tell you, you're ahead of your competition when you um, invest in social media with a person that knows what they're doing, because there are people that just post and they don't understand all the nuances of creating a community and building authority and attracting your actual clients. And yeah, but I recommend hiring a social media expert because it really does make a difference if you have the budget.
One thing that, especially with small businesses, that I always like to exercise I like to do to help them get into the mind of when is it appropriate and when should they start to consider is breaking down their individual dollar per hour and how much they make per hour. And then take that into account for how long it's going to take you, how much effort are you actually putting into creating social media, posting things like that. And then when people look at that and they look at how much they make per hour, how much time they're investing in doing that social media, it actually becomes a very easy, simple conversation in their head to say that I can take those same funds, put it towards an expert, and actually be getting a return from that, as opposed to me taking the time that's allocated to that. And even though it isn't a hard cost, it's still business dollars that are being left on the table. That now, if I transfer that over, I can now have an expert take care of that. Well, then I can take care of the thing that I am an expert at, and that's running my business. It doesn't require you to be an expert in social media. So that's the exercise that I like to do for small businesses, is say to get you in the mindset. And because then it just becomes a numbers game, and businesses definitely understand the numbers aspect of it. And that becomes much easier to kind of get over that hull of, okay, maybe this is a little bit of time to start to invest into it. But the other thing I always tell people is you may have to invest in it a little bit early. It's like when I used to do some coaching and we talk about when do you need an assistant, for example. Sometimes you need that stuff and invest in that stuff a little bit earlier than what you think that you do. However, it's going to free you up to be great at the things that you need to do in order to continue to move your business forward. So those are kind of my thoughts. But at the end of the day, Claire is right. It does take budget. You do have to find the right person. You do have to find the right fit. And I always like to tell people this, y'all. Just because it doesn't work with one company or one strategy, it does not mean that social media failed. There are so many things that can go into what happened, why it happened, all of those things. So this is also not one of those things that you're going to try one time, and if you don't, hit a home run, then you're just going to quit the sport. That's not the type of game that this is going to be to play. So those are kind of some of my thoughts on it.
And then
Well
just
put. I like it.
from both of you, what would you consider a minimum budget that, like, if someone was going to hire a social media expert, whether it be, in-house or an agency, what would you consider like a minimum budget starting point for a small business?
Well, it depends on how many platforms they're wanting, that's how I build my packages. And for me, I start at just a consultation for $150, and that's a couple of hours. And then I go up to, for two platforms, I only do two platforms, and that's $500 a month. So that's that's how I do my budgeting for packages.
Great, thank you.
So
That's
ours is
very
definitely a little more expensive for that. It kind of depends on. I think Claire brought up a really great point when you're asking, because every package isn't going to be apples to apples, you guys. So a couple of things to consider: what platforms, what type of content are you getting from it? Are you even getting content? We had someone send us a proposal from a competitor, and it was $1,200 of just ideas. They actually got no content created for that $1,200. It was just a bunch of ideation and things like that that they still had to go and get. So there's a lot that kind of goes into that. But I personally say that realistically, 500 to 1,000 is very much a kind of an entry level starting point. It's a good place, but that will not include everyone your ad spend. Just so you know, you will have to, if you want to run ads, you're for sure going to have to throw more money on top of that number right there. And that becomes kind of a whole different game, which we could kind of get into recommendations for that. But yeah, if you're talking about ads included, you're looking at 1,500 to 2,000 if you want to do it properly. You need a couple different creatives and all of those different things, and then your ad spend itself.
well, very good. This was very informative. I learned a ton
Thank you.
myself, and
Thank you
as
for
back
having me. Oh, can I just add one
Yeah,
more
this was
thing?
awesome.
I have to say that I really emphasize everyone, the small businesses, to get a page on Google Business. That is huge. That is your search engine. Get a page. Oh, watch a YouTube video and get your page up on Google Business because that's huge. And photos.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've enjoyed it. And like
Thank
I
you.
said,
Well,
I've
thank
learned
you,
a
Ed.
ton. Yes, thank you.
Guys, this was wonderful. Thank you for inviting me.
And are we going back to you?
Yeah, I think we're going to go back to me. Thank you guys once again. Thanks our social media gurus, Lorenzo Johnson, Clara Trent. Thank you guys for being here. Once again, you're going to get a copy of this recording, and you also get a copy of the PowerPoint slide, which has their email addresses for these two folks. I know we didn't get a chance to get to everyone's questions, today. So hopefully our guests will feel free to answer, they'll answer if you send an email to them, or you can send an email to us. We'll try to get a question answered for you too. Just reference that you were watching this video and you had a question that didn't get answered today. So just keep that in mind. So as we close, though, we just want to go over a couple of things that's coming up. So some of our resources here at the SBDC, we want you to sign up and get on our newsletter so you can keep abreast of information about programming and financing and things that we put out. We have newsletters that sent out by our headquarter office and our regional offices as well. You can go to the SBDC website to do that. Also, our guide to starting and operating a small business. It's kind of like our Bible. If you just kind of starting out, we're updating that this year, but you can also pull that from our website as well at michigansbdc.org. So take a look at that. And then also you're going to get a link that you can go back and get the recording of any of the Ask the Experts episodes or other programming that we have done as well. I think totally there's over probably 100 and maybe 30, 40 videos there on that. And you'll get a link to that to go to our Go-To Stage platform. So if you missed an episode, you can go back and see episodes of this year, first season, last year, or any other type of topics that we presented webinars on. And then speaking of that, we want to talk about the upcoming webinars that are coming up. There is one coming up next month, I believe, on social media that our headquarter office is doing. So if you go to our website and go to the training section, you can schedule yourself for that. This is all no cost to you as well. So keep that in mind. I encourage people to check in that social media marketing for businesses that's coming up, that webinar. And then our next Ask the Experts series, the next three in the lineup is our artificial intelligence folks coming up next month. It's probably going to be a big one too, folks. So I encourage you to join in. Also, you can see we also got some on the reporters and also the retailers coming up. But we got 5 more episodes to do in this series. We hope you would join us back in for future episodes as well. And then finally, if you do want to contact us, there's a couple of different ways. You can go, email us at sbdc@gvsu.edu. We encourage you to take a look at our website, see what resources and things are there. You can always call us at the toll-free number. And by chance, if you're not from the state of Michigan and tuning in, you can reach any small business development center in the whole country. They're all over the country, all 50 states. You reach them by going through americassbdc.org, and you can find the nearest SBDC office nearest you. So with that, I want to once again thank you for joining the broadcast today. This has been great. Hot topic, fan favorite. We'll always bring it back. Give us your comments. Let us know what you think, and if you want us to bring it back. And with that, we're going to let you go off and have lunch and enjoy the rest of your day. And we look forward to seeing you for the next episode of Ask the Experts. Thank you.